Okay, it is Monday. Students just went to dance. I am working on an anchor chart for cause and effect. We started the unit today and I introduced it to them with an experience. So this morning I took all the chairs out of the room before students arrived. And so when they came in, they're like, what? There's no chairs in here. What happened to all the chairs? Did they fly out the window? Like, who took our chairs? And so probably for about the first 20 minutes of the day, students were just kind of leaning on their desks, just, you know, standing up or sitting on the floor. Then I had a few students go with me to the 4th grade room where all the chairs were, and we got them back so they wouldn't have to be standing up all day. But I did that to give them an experience that I could refer back to during the unit on cause and effect. We talked about like what happened, or I could say I was leaning on my desk this morning. That's what happened because all the chairs were missing. Sweetie, if it's not exactly about cause and effect, we're gonna skip that story and we'll have to come back to it at a different time, okay? And I asked them, why did that happen? They said, well, because, you know, all the chairs were gone. There were no chairs in the classroom. And that's how I introduced cause and effect to them. With each reading unit, the way that our curriculum goes, we have to come up with some sort of experience in order to introduce it, whatever the comprehension skill is. So that was the experience for today. What I'm doing now is making an anchor chart of the process questions, and process questions are guiding comprehension questions that we ask as we are doing the work of the unit. The first one is like, what happened? Why did it happen? Does more than one effect exist for one of the causes? Another thing they have to do is explain the cause and effect relationship in a complete sentence. So this unit only has 4 process questions. Most units have more than 4. Okay, students are back from lunch in 5, so let's catch up really quickly. This morning, I introduced cause and effect. I think that it went well. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into it tomorrow. I did a read aloud today, and then tomorrow we're going to go back through the book that I read, Fletcher and the Springtime Blossoms, and I'm going to teach them how to use the graphic organizer, which is basically just a flow chart, and then how to pull those cause and effect relationships out of a fictional text. For writing, I feel like functional writing has been the never-ending writing unit. So I was like, guys, we just have to get this thing wrapped up today. So I started handing out the publishing paper. I did a couple of writing conferences, and we just, like, by the end of this week, I want to be done. Good riddance with functional writing until next year. I feel like this unit has just really dragged on. We recently started doing RTI first thing in the morning for 30 minutes. And so that 30 minutes has to come from somewhere. And for me, it's been coming from writing. So we've not been getting to writing like we need to. And so that's also because we have 2 resources every day, which I am not complaining about that, but it does just make it a little tricky sometimes trying to get everything in that we need to. But I do have a feeling, I have a strong feeling that the schedule is going to change quite a bit from that next year. So I'm enjoying my 2 resources a day while I still have it. For math today, I'm going to be introducing two-digit subtraction with regrouping. We're going to be using dimes and pennies to do that. And then for Bible, I have a PowerPoint. We're learning about Esther today and how she listened to wise advice. And social studies, we did Taste of the Nations before spring break. And so we're not wrapping that up, but that's all done now for social studies. We did the country Germany. And so students learned all about Germany. I actually, before we do our new unit in social studies, I need to go back to the KWL chart that we did for Germany, and so that we can fill out the last column, the L chart of what we learned, and then move into our new social studies unit. So that's it, but I do want to show you my markers that I got. So I got these markers yesterday from Walmart. There's 20 of them. I actually did online pickup, so I did Walmart pickup. I put these in my basket, just the regular colors. When I got there, they gave me a substitution, and so I got the 20 pack instead of just the 10 pack for the price of only a 10 pack. So I love when they do substitutions sometimes, because usually you'll get more in quantity or like a better brand. So time's up, gotta run. I just picked up my lunch from Zaxby's because I brought noodles for myself today and I forgot my son's lunch in the refrigerator. So he has my noodles and I just got a kid's meal for myself so that I wasn't spending as much money, and that's probably closer to the portion of food that I really need to be eating anyway. Today we were working on cause and effects. I showed them how to do the graphic organizer. They got started on their own, reading a passage, and then they had to just make the graphic organizer. Some of them like are already there, they've got it, they know what to do. Some of them are still a little shaky, so that's what we'll be working on for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be cause and effect. And this afternoon we're doing more subtraction with regrouping, which we started yesterday. But the weird thing about the Saxon math is, like, even though we started with subtraction with regrouping yesterday, their class practice that we did had no subtraction with regrouping problems on it. And like no subtraction problems at all, honestly. And I looked over the practice sheet for today and there's also no subtraction problems on today's practice sheet. So I don't really understand that. I'm gonna have to pull some resources so that we can actually practice what we're learning. But anyway, I am going to chat with you guys later. I'm getting back to school. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm on my planning period right now, which is a very short one because we're on the early release schedule today, and I have to dash out and get some Claritin. Like, I usually don't suffer really too badly from allergies, but it's getting to me this year, and I don't have any Claritin at home. I actually grabbed my son's children's Claritin and I was getting ready to just like start drinking it from the bottle, and I was like, I don't know, like I probably weigh too much. It's not gonna work anyway. Target is around the corner from my school. I'm just gonna dash into Target. We just got back from chapel, which our chapel actually overlaps with my resource time. So students go to chapel once a week. It's just K through 2 and then 3 through 5. We recently separated it and I'm so glad that we did. And we have a new person teaching our chapel. It's really engaging and fun and like just right on their level. But chapel is from 9 o'clock until 9:30. And my resource starts at 9:25. So like some days I'll leave right at 9:25, but some days I'm like, well, let me just wait till the end. So my resource, which is already shorter on Wednesdays, gets cut just a little bit shorter some Wednesdays due to chapel. Let me run into Target and I will be out very soon. So I am away from school now. Right when I was picking up my class from the cafeteria, Ian's teacher popped around the corner and she was like, hey, you know, when you brought his lunch down for him, he was just fine. But after he started eating, his eye started to get really swollen. And she showed me a picture and his eye was just like huge. A couple weeks ago, he had pink eye, and I've been thinking that maybe he's been suffering from some allergy symptoms. And I was like, okay, well, you know, let him, they were getting ready to take a nap. I said, when he wakes up, I'm gonna call and just check on him and see how he's doing. But then she came back and showed me another picture and it had gotten like even bigger and just terrible. And so they brought him to me and I had to like scramble and get some sub plans, if you want to call them plans, together, because my emergency sub plans had been used from a couple weeks ago when he had pink eye and I couldn't come to school that day. So we're on the way now to an urgent care. I think there's one that opened up over near my school not too long ago, and I'm just praying they can get him in because pediatrician's office is not answering the phone. His pediatrician recently retired, and so we got defaulted to this other doctor, and I don't think I want to stay with them. So tonight I need to make it my order of business to find a new pediatrician for him to go to. So we're pulling up now. I see lots of cars in the parking lot. So this, I'm sure, is open. I'm just praying that all is well in Jesus' name. All right, guys, so it's about 6 o'clock. Ian woke up maybe an hour ago from his nap. Of course, he went down late because he was at urgent care during his normal nap time. So the doctor at the urgent care basically said to treat him for an eye infection and then also for allergies. And so I had Claritin with me in my purse because the children's Claritin that I had for myself. And then I also had his eye drops, which I had Kevin fill his prescription on Monday because I just didn't know if he would need it or not. Like, he was fine on Sunday. He was fine Monday morning when he woke up, but I didn't want it to be the case that like he woke up from his nap at school and then his teacher calls me like, hey, his eye is all red. And so I have just had the eye drops in my purse every day since then. So I had both of them with me in my purse while I was at the urgent care, but I just really didn't know if it was allergies or if it was an eye infection. Obviously, the doctor didn't know either. And so he said it would be fine to give him the Claritin and the antibacterial eye drops. Not antibacterial, antibiotic. I asked the doctor, what are the implications of giving him the eye drops in the event that he does not actually have pink eye? And he said, like, basically it's okay to treat him for both things. And the only thing to watch for would be if he had a reaction to the antibiotic medication, which I know he doesn't because this is the first refill. Oh, sweet. My students left me a sign yesterday for me and Ian. It's Ian with an eye, but it's all good. Okay, students just went to music and I am going to spend my planning period doing some grading. I have a stack of papers right here that need to be graded. And yesterday I left at noon, so I missed our early dismissal meeting. And they gave us these shirts. My school gives the absolute best shirts. It says Packed Life and it says God, Family, Impact. Time to grade papers. So it's the end of the day and I am working on some small group plans for reading. We're working on cause and effect and I have 3 different groups of students. So each group has their own books that they're going to read. One group is reading The Big Balloon Race and Buffalo Bill. Another group is reading Cam Jansen and the Mystery of the Stolen Diamonds. My last group is reading The Trouble with Chickens. And students have to do something called a visual tool each day. So the visual tool is basically a flow chart. Let me show you. For cause and effect, they draw a circle with the effect, and then they do the square with the cause, and I tell them fill out the effect first and then the cause next. We were actually working on cause and effect during tutoring, which I completely forgot that I had tutoring today. I was out in the hallway after school talking to my colleagues, and then I had 2 students just pop up in front of me from extended ed. They're like, we have tutoring today, right? And I was like, oh yeah, of course, go in the room. And so I had them pull out their books for reading today. So we don't have a basal or anything like that. We read actual books. Like, each group has 2 books per unit. If it's a thicker chapter book, then I'll just have them do 1 book instead of 2. I had the students pull out the books that they started reading today, and we just turned to one of the pages in the books and I started writing out for them step by step how to find the cause and effect, because it's like when we're doing it together, they do a much better job of finding the cause and effect relationships. But then when they're doing it on their own, sometimes they're just like, I don't know what to do, because for their work, like, they literally just have a blank page and they have to create the graphic organizer, which is what we call the visual tool. So they're either like, I don't know what to do, or sometimes they'll write the cause where the effect goes, or vice versa. So we started talking about it and I said, when you're trying to find the cause and effect, just ask yourself what happened, and then they know to write that down here as the effect. And then I told them to turn this into a question. So whatever happened, they need to ask themselves, why did it happen? So for example, we said what happened was Alan hung the clothes on the line, and then they would ask themselves, why did Alan hang his clothes on the line? I said, after you ask yourself that question, it's going to be either 2 things. You're going to figure out what the cause is. You're just going to say he hung his clothes on the line because his mother was too sick to do it. Or you're going to realize that there is no cause. And we talked about how there are some things that happen that have no cause. The author doesn't really let us know why it happened. It just kind of happens. We discussed how that just is the way it is in books sometimes. And I said, either you're gonna find out that there is no cause, which means that there's not a cause and effect relationship, and you can't use that, or you're gonna realize, wait a minute, what I just said is actually a cause and it's not an effect, and you'll realize that you need to switch it. So tomorrow we're going on our field trip to the zoo. I need to still send an email to my parents and let them know students need to, they can wear jeans tomorrow, but it needs to be just our school t-shirt and not necessarily a uniform shirt. And I have a couple of parents who want to chaperone, but they didn't pay like with us in advance. So I need to also let them know that they're going to have to pay the full price for the zoo, whatever that is, when they get to the door. And I'll just let them know they can look it up on the zoo website to figure out what that is, because I'm just not gonna do that because I need to get out of here. So, but overall, it's been a good day.